In a dark world, remember to be the light. Welcome to our live broadcast. Black Swan Revelations presents Rev 5. Here is your host, the Black Swan himself, Shane.
Howdy ho, good neighbors. How you guys doing down south? What's going on?
Going good. So you're the Black Swan himself. So you are a unpredicted event, Shane.
That's right. That's right. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what we're going to talk about. It's, predictably unpredictable.
Yeah. Essentially.
And
very good description.
And you don't know when your guests are going to come on. That's a bonus. This is why you want to watch Rev 5, because you don't know who the mystery guests are going to be. I know. Bob knows. Gary knows. We just don't know if they're going to show up or not. That's the question.
Don't know.
So it could be Rev 3. So how is let's pick on Gary. How you doing, Gary? How's your week going?
Oh, I am blessed. Haven't had a problem in the world. No, I'm kidding.
No.
It's like 2 seconds before airtime, I have stuff falling and things going crazy. A vehicle not working yesterday. It's just been a peachy weekend. Very peachy. Peachy. Awesome.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Bob. No, I'm just kidding. Gary, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, hopefully
I'm just not going to let the devil win. You know,
that's right.
We got the truth to get out, and if the rapture happened tomorrow, I'd be pretty upset at myself for arguing at a green screen that fell and had to put it back up. So anyway,
it's a very good point. Bob, how you doing? What's going on in your world?
Me, I'm excited about a Rapture Resurrection report that I'm working on right now. That the Lord kind of took me into it now, creating a new chart, and I'm adding the new data to it that we've been finding out over the last 12 months. And as I'm adding the new data, like the, for example, like the solar eclipse I had on there, but I didn't know that it was a sign of Jonah. And then we have Star of Jacob showing up and some other things like that. So adding new data to the chart helps complete the puzzle. We have missing pieces to the puzzle. And as you put the whole thing together, you start to see a pattern, and you start to see things that are essentially the video I'm putting out. You're going to say to yourself once you watch it, like, yep, Daniel's 70th week is right at our doorstep for sure, because the celestial signs in heavens, they are crying it right now. And in the video, I'm going to put it's how I put it together, and it's going to be really exciting once I release it. Hopefully, I'll have it done by tomorrow. I'm working on it for like a whole week.
Can you share?
And as I work on it, I learn new things as I work on it. I begin to see the picture, and I'm like, well, this whole video scrap. Got to start all over, because you find out new things as you're working on it. And that's what the Lord does with me with my Rapture Resurrection reports. I'll start putting a report together, thinking I'm going in one direction, and then it goes in a whole new, unexpected direction that I wasn't expecting, but it was a far better revelation than what I started with. You know what I'm saying? But the Holy Spirit reveals that as you work diligently, the more you dig, all of a sudden you find this new information. Like, oh man, this is incredible. This is far better than what I originally started with. So that's what I'm going through right now. So hopefully that will be up and running this week, because I know Feast of Trumpets, man, that's only about how many days away now? 26 days, 25 days away, something like that.
Not too long.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I approach my YouTube channel, is I just hit record, and you never know what's going to happen. That's why I like live. I love doing live. So can you share anything? Can you share a video right now, or is it top secret?
Well, as far as what I'm working on?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have nothing to share right now. I don't have nothing loaded right now.
Okay.
But let's just say that the 7-year warning, it has become far more impressive. What we saw, the Revelation 12 sign, the Revelation 12 sign has become far more impressive now, according to the new data I'm working on. Some people have forgotten about it. Say, yeah, that was an important sign. No, it was the sign. It is
I'm intrigued.
The sign. It was our sign. Okay. Everything revolves around that Revelation 12 sign. Everything now. The work I'm doing, it all goes back to that. Okay. And it all goes back to that and the 7-year warning, like I've been saying here over and over. That Revelation 12 sign was marked a 7-year warning. Okay. So that's what I'm saying right now. That's pretty much all I can really say without actually busting out the chart and start breaking down the video.
Okay.
So
you don't want to bust out the chart right now. And
no, because I'll take
I'm just kidding.
I'll take the rest of the broadcast to explain it.
Yeah. So when do you think, like, are we thinking maybe next week we can get a look at it? Is that what your ETA is?
Yep.
Couple weeks? Week?
I know it'll definitely be out this week. I'm hoping by tomorrow it'll be done. I have to take all day to work on it.
Okay.
But it's hard to get time to work on it because you got to sustain everything else going on. And all the other work I do in this ministry and everything dealing with that. And plus, I do have a life outside of here. You know, so I got a family. I have other responsibilities. So it's tough, you know, especially you get some information like that. I was told my wife, I got to start waking up a few hours early in the morning. You know? Oh, had Amy for a minute.
Raptured.
Where'd you go?
Boom. Just like that. You probably noticed I haven't been doing as many lives because like time, man, I'm pretty sure time has been sped up. I can't prove it yet, but it sure feels like it's sped up compared to when I was like 15 years old.
Right.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's been crazy.
Everybody agrees with that, man. I mean, even like my mother-in-law, she's retired. Okay, she just celebrated her 82nd birthday. And she's retired at home all the time. And, you know, days fly right by. Don't have much to do. You figure it'll be a long day. Nope. The days are still flying right by. Boom, 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 boom. Flying right through the days.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter how busy you are. If you have nothing to do, the time is still flying.
I am shocked at what I'm seeing right now. This is a mystery woman.
Make swans great again.
And look, she's got the hat, she's got the pillow in the background, the blanket, the car. Do you have the Black Swan car yet? That's still being
no, sir.
Not yet. Okay, it's coming. I'm working on that model.
There is one. I would like one. I have not heard of that.
No, me neither until just now.
Oh, no.
So that's awesome, man.
Financing available.
Got to support the Watchmen.
Checks in the mail,
Amen.
I guess, right?
Yes.
He's got merch.
I just got to support my brother in Christ.
Yeah,
he works
awesome.
very hard, and I love it. I love my Black Swan hat. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. I got to get me one now.
Yes,
I got to get myself.
I've missed you guys.
Yeah, no, same. I hope you didn't mind me bugging you each week, sending you out a link. I'm just like hoping one day Amy could grace us with her presence and all the Black Swan memorabilia.
I've been wanting to. I've just had so much going on and just, you know, family life, trying to keep up with trying to stay close to the Lord. In between a full-time job, you know, but I've been wanting to come every week, and I'm like, I gotta get there, and here I am. I've missed you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we were just talking about that it feels like time has been sped up. It's been sped up. I'm sure it is.
And I don't know if that's a feeling because I hear older people say that all my life. You know, hey, you think you're a young whippersnapper now. Once you get past 30 and 40, all of a sudden time just flies by. But, you know, it may be an age thing. I don't know. But it just seems like we don't have enough time in the day to get this message out. And when you do get something, I bet Bob's like, I need to get that video out ASAP. I might not be here tomorrow, you know. So there's an urgency, you know.
And then something pops up, guaranteed. As soon as you have a major deadline, all of a sudden you might have had a time last week, but then when you're like, I'm going to get this done, I'm going to work on it, I swear, tomorrow. And then all of a sudden Aunt Bertha that you've never heard of in 10 years is like, hey, we're having our anniversary. It's our 100th anniversary tomorrow. are you able to speak? And it's like, Aunt Bertha, you've never talked to me ever. And yes, I'd love to speak. I'll just put off my project another week. It's just like that always seems to happen only on a pressing deadline. So if there was somehow that you could fake a pressing deadline, then anything that would happen will happen that day. Then tomorrow you'll have free time because you just faked out the other stuff that just showed up. I'm just spitballing. I think
Yeah.
I'm onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
agree.
I hear what you're saying. We should ask the kids. We should start asking the kids, like, hey, do you guys think time is going really fast?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just us adults? Because I'm
Yeah.
right there with you, Gary. I was told that too. So me and my husband were talking about that the other day. How when you reach a certain age, it just seems like time just flies by. And, you know, that he was told that too as a youngin', that, oh, well, once you get to be an adult, time flies. But it just seems like it's a supernatural, like, flying by now. It seems way too fast, faster than normal. And I was thinking about that. Like, I kind of want to start asking the kids, like, do they think the time is going by fast too?
Yeah. It's a good question.
Imagine
So-
how fast time's going to go by once we get into eternity. Where
Might be slow, wouldn't it? It's like,
no,
man,
it'd be like
all
I think
day.
it'll fly. I think it'll fly. But the thing is, okay, I get it. There's no concept of time because it'll never end. But
Mhm.
a time will come where someone's going to be like, it's been 62,000 years since
Yeah.
we were raptured. And remember all that? It's been 62,000 years. Yeah, I know we don't keep track, but this guy over here, he's obsessed with this, so he keeps track. So
Yeah.
we're 62,000 years. That was 62,000 years ago. Man, it just feels like it was 100 years ago.
Imagine Paul when he was on earth and he was preaching, he would preach people to death. He would. He'd preach so long they just die. They drop out of the window and die. So imagine in heaven when there's no restrainer. Basically, he could preach as long as he wants. As long as he wants. And speaking of preaching long-winded preaching. Hey, Derek. How are you tonight?
Man, all right.
He really
Well,
knows how to set it up for somebody.
Hi,
I
Derek.
know.
Because I have this new mic.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
nice.
have a Rev 5 now, Shane.
Yep, we're here. And
All
I
right.
think
I
if
think we can get
Rick
started
shows
now.
up, it'll be Rev 6.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
You guys hear me okay?
Can't hear you.
Sound like
Very
you're in a,
perfect.
sound like you're in a,
It's perfect. It
A
sounds like
a
you're
barrel.
in a canyon.
yeah. Don't listen to
There
Shane.
goes the
No, you need to turn your volume up. And it's very echoey.
I'm trying to make improvements here, but it's a slow go.
Wow, that actually sounds kind of cool, but it feels like you're in a cavern somewhere, like the bottomless pit or something. We could
You're in
talk
Mammoth
about
Cave
that
in
tonight
Kentucky.
if you want. Or in
Mhm.
Kentucky. It's fair. Or in an airport,
there's,
like in
there's a
Texas,
lot.
where nobody's there.
See, what you need is a Shure mic
That's
and a
right.
mixer.
Yeah.
All right.
Or a road like this one.
Mhm.
This
There you
one's
go.
pretty nice.
You got a
These
good
guys are
voice.
nice.
I got
or this Heinz
Really awesome.
57
a
mic
better
I've got.
microphone now.
Really awesome, nice professional mics. Mine
Yep.
is pretty little. Yours is real
that-
big and got a long stick.
Well,
That's
I only
awesome.
figured out how to use this arm. I've had this arm for like a year, and I'm looking at it going, I don't know how this is going to work. I was just using a stand, and then now I'm like, whoa, maybe I don't know how to use it. Hang on here. I spoke too soon. This thing just fell. Can you believe this? So anyways, we should get to the topic because
People
we
get restless.
we don't have a lot of time. All right. So tonight's topic is the Rapture, the next Black Swan event. And I want to set up the premise of what a Black Swan is, and then we'll dive in. We'll go around. We'll go Gary, Bob, Amy, and Derek. And feel free to interject, Derek. You could do kind of a two-part, what you've been up to this week. And we didn't even do that with Amy, but maybe as we're talking about the Rapture, you can kind of tie it in with what you did this week. And then we can kind of encapsulate both topics, because I always like to at the beginning ask everyone how you guys have been, like, honestly. So but a black swan event, there's three criteria. The first thing is it's highly improbable. Like you could get 1,000 people together and they would not predict this type of event. It wouldn't, they just be like, no, like we just didn't think that this was possible. An example of that would be 9/11. That's probably the biggest and easiest to remember. Most people remember where they were. That changed the world literally overnight. Like security at airports overnight was just, it was crazy all of a sudden. So that's an example. 1942 Pearl Harbor would be an example because that helped usher the United States into the war. But you can argue Japan didn't think it was a black swan event because they're the ones that organized it. But there was a quote by one of the admirals saying we actually awoke a sleeping giant. So that could have been a bit of a black swan for them. So the idea, again, it's highly improbable. The next thing is it changes economically. Like the world has to change overnight. Like it had, like you don't go backwards. You can't go back. So that's kind of you can't just have something happen and then the next day things just carry on like normal. So it has to affect the world. That's a legitimate black swan. The third criteria is if you can look backwards in time and you can go, oh, we should have saw this coming. It had all the elements, everything was there, all the breadcrumbs were there, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this made so much sense. But you can't predict it when you're in the black swan. You don't know until you're out of it. Then you can look backwards. That's the DNA. That's the nature of a black swan event. And this is why I say the greatest black swan event is the rapture, because we don't know when it's coming. And people will argue with you all day long and say, no. It's after the tribulation. That's when you get raptured and they call you crazy and all this kind of stuff. And you can't explain it to people on the way up saying, see, I told you I was right. You can't. You're 99% of the time you're going to be wrong every single day. Like if I'm thinking the rapture could happen today and it doesn't happen today, I'm wrong. That's where scoffers, mockers show up and say, hey, you're wrong, until you're right. And then everything is changed. The whole world is changed and there's no going back. And in hindsight, people will be like, wow, Black Swan Revelations talked about it. Not So Random talked about it. Derek Drew talked about it. Amy Girl Loves Jesus talked about it all the time. Bob Barber has been talking about it all the time on his channel, that Jesus Christ could come at any moment. But they will be shocked afterwards going, oh, we should have saw this coming because there were breadcrumbs everywhere. People were telling us, but we missed it. Anyway, so that's the premise of why I feel the Rapture is the next big black swan event. Gary, what are your thoughts?
I just know what it's like to go through situations where it's like, Lord, this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. How am I going to go and see light at the end of the tunnel? And if you were told ahead of time, you'd probably be trying to bypass that situation. But then after you've gone through it and you've seen God take you through it, you look back and you're like, man, I could see how God took me through that hard situation. And I'm glad that I didn't know in advance. It had just freaked me out. I'd have tried to mess up what God was trying to work together for good in my life. But when it comes to this last chapter, I don't know. We can study and study and study, and we can become, what we think is a revelation, a doctrine and revelation, so to speak, and end time events. And even with the best of knowledge and stuff, it's a mystery. Mm-hmm. And we can give our educated guesstimate, and but when we look at the Bible, we definitely know without fail that we are seeing the signs surrounding that season. And it's like we're just kind of on pins and needles, just standing on tippy toe, trying to look over to see what's next. And I've just kind of have, like, I wouldn't say a foreboding type feeling or anything like that, but just a feeling that something's in the air and something's about to happen. And I don't know what it is exactly. It may be some more crazy catastrophes in this old world, or it might be the thing that we've been waiting on, and that's our blessed hope. And but I'm just in question of it all, like, Lord, when? And He's not telling me, but I do know it's soon, and that's the best I can give on that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Bob, what's your take?
My take is the Rapture Resurrection is definitely the next big Black Swan event. Just like you said before here on your channel, Shane, is no one sees it coming, but there were a few, for example, that saw the Pearl Harbor attacks. Okay. No one saw the attacks except the gentlemen flying the planes and the generals that sent them. So there was a small group of people that knew about the attack, but everybody else was clueless. We are that small group of people watching for the rapture. When it takes place, we're going to be somewhat surprised. We'll be like, oh, it's about time. No, right on schedule. However that's going to be. It'll get us a little bit at first, like, okay, let's do it. Hey, all right, it's party time. So that's what it's like for us. So the rapture is definitely, I believe, the next major global Black Swan event. Okay, so that's what's on. Because right now, would a World War III be a Black Swan? At this point, no. Okay, they have enough propaganda out there preparing everybody for war. Okay, so in a civil war in the United States here, that's not a Black Swan when that starts. We all see it coming. Everybody sees it coming now, right? Whether you're a believer or non-believer. Okay, we've seen everything that this government of ours has been doing for the last 3 years. They opened up our borders. They allowed all these illegal age men to come here, military age men to come in here, occupy this country, position them all over the place, or gave them money, and pretty soon they're going to cut all that funding to them and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to take care of you no more. Now you got to take care of yourself. Now you got to go rob and pillage in order to eat. Okay, so that's what they're about. That's what they're about to do. Okay, they're about to cut all their funding. Now, I don't think they're going to let these guys loose. I don't think these guys will be let loose fully until after the rapture. Okay, because after the rapture, when all the Christians are removed from especially from this country, imagine all the open homes that are wide open now. These guys have to move, start claiming territories as quickly as they can. And this is when you're going to see the entire nation begin forming these no-go zones and everything. It's going to shift overnight. Okay, like John 48 says, a watchdog, an uptime. The morning after the rapture is going to be a completely different new world here, and especially around the world. But you guys see how that works, though? So the world war coming, even a nuclear war. If a nuke blew up down the street from me, I wouldn't be surprised. Nobody will be surprised. Oh, I didn't see it coming. Unless you got your head in the hole, you're watching football all the time. You don't talk to nobody at work. Okay, all right. World War III, nuclear war, civil war. It's not a Black Swan. It's not. We're just waiting for the shoe to drop. But the rapture, now that's a Black Swan.
Yeah,
that's a huge Black Swan.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree. Amy, what are your thoughts? And how's it going? What have you been up to?
Yes. Well, I'm so happy to be on here with you guys. This is so exciting. It's exciting to meet Derek for the first time. Hello. Nice to meet you, Derek. I loved hearing what you had to say on Uptime when you were on there and everywhere else you were. So yeah. Well, the next event on God's prophetic timeline is the rapture of the church. That is a fact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it in scripture. That's what I stand on. Because we can see that the world is getting set up for the time of Jacob's trouble, the 7-year tribulation period. And we do believe in the doctrine of the pre-tribulation rapture. So that's what we see is coming. And absolutely, it is going to be a Black Swan event. No question about that, because the world will not see it coming. I hope it happens when we're live. Wouldn't that be awesome? We can all just go up while we're live.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that'd be cool.
Right?
He's gone.
But
But maybe all of us Yeah, not just Bob. Maybe all of us would
No.
be kind of cool.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
we'll all
now,
go up at the same time.
now I feel
Yeah,
sad
but
that Bob's gone.
yeah,
Go ahead,
well,
Amy.
he'll come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, my week went very well. I was on Gary Gates' channel, Not So Random Acts of Kindness, and we heard this woman's story, Danielle, and it was just whoa. It was a very hard story. She had a very hard life. We heard her testimony, and it was such a beautiful story at the end. She really testifies to Jesus and how he gave her strength through everything that she's been through. So that was really good. That was Thursday. And last Tuesday, I was on Uptime, and that was awesome. And next week, I'm really excited for next week. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, you guys should go over there and subscribe because I have some really awesome testimonies coming up. If you guys follow Marty from 2 Minute Warning on Telegram,
I will now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he
Global
is
Rapture
so
Watchers talks about him a lot. So
Okay.
yes, Chris from Global Rapture Watchers, he talks about him a lot. He is really big on Telegram, giving the news, all the end time news. He's coming on Thursday to share his testimony. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Got a
Nice.
very amazing, powerful testimony. And then the day after that, I myself will be sharing my dad's testimony. That will be a very exciting one because he's had a lot that happened in his life that points to Jesus and just miracles of Jesus. So yeah, I mean, my YouTube channel is very much evangelistic based, where I'm just trying to get people on the boat of Jesus, so to speak. I'm just trying to get as many people saved as possible. So my channel is strictly testimony based. If anyone can share their testimony of how they came to place their faith in Jesus, plus testify of his soon coming return in the rapture. So that's what we testify on there. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting. That's what I'm looking forward to next week. Man, I'm in full support of Israel. I got my Israel cup.
Oh, nice.
I got my Israel necklace, the Jewish star with a cross in it. I'm very much in support and praying for Israel right now because, man, guys, we could see the writing on the wall that they are getting ready to endure the most hardest time that they've ever been through, which is what we read about in Scripture, time of Jacob's trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I should do? Moving forward, Amy, is I should have you do, like, if you come on again on this channel, like a report from something going on in Israel, and you could be like the dedicated person that talks about Israel, if that makes sense, where you just have, because I know you've been studying Israel lately, but it might be kind of nice to have kind of, where you can actually read the articles and all that kind of stuff, because obviously we all support Israel, but we're all in a different space looking at different things, whatever it is. But you could almost be that person that's like, okay, here's what's going on, and give us an update, give us the 5-minute report on what's going on in Israel, if that makes sense. If you're open to that, I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What an honor. That would be so cool. Yeah, because like Shane, and some other people might know, Friends of Israel Gospel Ministries. I'm a volunteer for their team now. It's called the Tikva team, and also I took their classes. They had a 9-week course just educating you about the nation of Israel, and it was just wow,
That's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, very cool. So thank you for that, Amy. Derek, hopefully we got your mic going.
Hopefully, if we get a bad echo or something, just let me know. I'll go back to my iPad mic.
It's still echoing unless you can crank it.
Tiny.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're at the bottom of a canyon, and we're like, what?
Let's go.
Sorry, I'm late, guys.
It's okay. We're just well, if
speak right now, I hear you now.
Yeah, say your name again.
I'm gonna stick with the iPad mic then.
Perfect.
We tried.
Yeah, we can hear you
Hey,
now.
Derek.
It could be an iPad thing, you know.
Hey,
It's-
Bob. Everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
So we're just gonna talk to Derek about what's going on in his week. He'll share his thoughts on the next Black Swan event, whether or not he thinks the Rapture is, and then we'll go to you, Rick. So your timing is impeccable. You're next on the hot
I'm
seat.
next.
You're
All
next.
right.
Okay, so Derek, what's been going on in your?
Well, first
your
of
week?
all, hi to all my brothers. I'm glad you can finally hear me. And hi, Amy. It's nice to meet you too.
Hi, Amy.
You know, so many of you
Hi, Rick.
folks that like I'm meeting for the
Gary,
first time. It's like I
Shane.
already know you because I listen to Uptime. So like I've heard you on Uptime before. So it's awfully nice to meet you. What's been going on in my week? I've been trying to steadily improve on this YouTube. This is crazy. 1 week ago, I didn't even have a YouTube channel, and now here it is. And I'm trying to steadily improve. Thanks to your encouragement, thanks to Rick's encouragement.
Yeah, Rick was
now,
awesome on that. Good,
now I've
good
got
call,
it.
Rick.
It's there.
Thank
It's
you.
here. So I've been trying to put some new stuff up there. I did my testimony this week. I figured it would be a good idea for anybody that listens to any of my videos to kind of know me a little bit and get to know where I'm coming from. And so I kind of did a short, like 25-30 minute talk of my testimony, but also just kind of who I am from childhood to right now, like just so you get a feel for who's Derek, who's this guy. So anyway, I've enjoyed kind of doing that kind of stuff. I hope I can get my audio issues worked out soon. I mean, like I said, my son is a tech guy and he's been trying to help me with this stuff, but it just isn't happening. We'll get to it sooner or later. So
Hey,
anyway,
Derek, we'll troubleshoot that later, man.
Yeah.
I have an audio engineer sort of degree behind my belt in a way.
today
Self-trained.
I didn't have a lot of time. I kind of rushed in here late because I had a date with my wife today. My wife and I have been married 30 years, and
Congratulations.
it's just a great idea to have a date once or twice a week with your wife if you can, especially, I'm going to tell you a story to anybody who's been married for a little while. I can literally remember the night before my first child was born. My wife was sitting on the couch. She was going through labor pains. And, my 20-something-year-old self I said to her, I said, this is the last time we're going to be alone together in our house for like at least 18 years.
Yep.
And of course, for those of you that have millennial children like I do, you can't ever get them to leave the house. So I still have two grown children that are just having a hard time in life. My daughter has an apartment that I built on my house, so she has her own. My son just still has his bedroom. And so, you kind of have to have those dates with your wife or your husband because, otherwise it doesn't work. So I just kind of rushed in from a date with my wife today. And anyway, my week's been going good. I got my first Rapture debater and or hater. I don't know if he was just a debater and or a hater on one of the comments of my YouTube. It's a lot harder, when I was on Rumble. I mean, I still am on Rumble, but on Rumble, you don't get a lot of people that comment. YouTube does get very active with the comments, and it's great. So, and I try to answer them all. If I miss one, I feel bad because I try to answer them. So I had somebody that got on there and they're talking about John Darby, and I'm like, dude, this is a straw man argument. Okay, if you want to argue, about the rapture, do something else other than Darby. That's just a straw man argument. That the early church fathers, Irenaeus, they were writing about the rapture, way before Darby. So let's not talk about Darby. And I just kind of leave it as, look, I don't know what to tell you. If I'm totally wrong, if I've misread the Bible and I'm totally wrong, I am fully prepared to give my life if the man of sin arises. Okay, so there's no argument to say, oh, well, you're going to lose your faith at the no. Listen, I'm sold out for Jesus no matter what. But I close with, if I'm right, and I believe I am, don't blame me if I say I told you so on the way up and we have a good laugh about it. And that's just kind of how I end that debate, because I would rather be accused if I stand before God someday and I'm wrong about anything that I believe. I would rather be accused of believing that God is more loving, more gracious. I mean, like these people that don't believe in the rapture, do they believe he's not powerful enough to do it? Do they believe he's not loving enough to do it, that he doesn't have enough grace in his heart to do that for us? I'd rather be accused of saying, God, I thought this is how I saw you, and it's kind of the same. It's like the same argument that I've had with, Jewish evangelism. It's like a lot of Jewish people just don't believe that God would come and live as a man in the flesh. They don't believe Jesus was God in the flesh. Well, hold on a second. Are you saying God is not powerful enough to do that? I would rather be accused of if I stand before God saying, God, I really thought you were powerful enough to do it, So anyway, that's been my week.
That's a good point.
And I think that you're right. The rapture is the ultimate black swan. I think that we may see other black swans in between now and the rapture. The reason I speculate this is simply just because, the normalcy bias. I mean, that's what keeps so many people away from the rapture is they think, like the scoffers, oh, everything's been the same way it's been for, thousands of years. People have been looking for Jesus. Well, it's the same normalcy bias that, like, you've been hearing probably since the crash of 2008. Haven't you been hearing, oh, the stock market's going to crash? And the stock market hasn't crashed. I mean, it's been like since 2008, it hasn't crashed. So people are still making money. They're like, well, it's not going to crash. Well, one of these days it will probably crash just because of the way that we invest our money in, different things in the way they gamble in the financial market. But there's that normalcy bias. So, we could have other smaller black swans in between now and the rapture, but the rapture is the ultimate black swan. That is the ultimate, should have saw it coming, but didn't.
Yeah, no, that's good. Rick, welcome to the program. How you doing? How's your week going? I know your channel is constantly exploding, and thanks for the idea for Derek to move over from Rumble, even though he's still on Rumble, to come over to join us on YouTube, because I think this is where it's happening. I really do. I think this is where it's happening. But yeah, you're right. You got to kind of have to guard yourself a little bit, and you can't talk about certain things. So you have to codify everything. But thanks for that idea for Derek. I'm sure Derek's having fun with YouTube. I see him blasting videos out every single day, man. It's awesome. And then, so Rick, what's going on in your world?
Well, I want to start off by thanking you for having me back on your show again this week. It's always an honor. Just hello to everybody. Sorry I'm late. I went through, it's been a biblical week in weather for us here in Florida because the storms are just coming out of nowhere, folks. It's like it's sunny out and then the storm is there within the next half hour. And, my car, I'm driving in my car and it's like sunny this way, a little bit sunny, but as I get further, you see a wall of rain coming down. Like, what is this? I thought I dodged the rain bullet, All of a sudden, I'm in it, because that's where I'm going to this restaurant to eat there, and the car is shaking around and everything, and I'm like, really? And then, boom, lightning strike on my left of my car, on the right of my car, and when it was the flash, it was the boom. It's not like I was going through a minefield in war. I mean, I pulled over to the gas station, let it blow over. I said, goodness God, really? Come on, man, I want to get to the restaurant in one piece. I don't want to get my car exploded by lightning, And I'm like, I drive a convertible. That's scarier because, it can blow off or something. But the winds were blowing. I got out and I'm like, okay. So I waited. I know this is kind of boring, folks, but not really. The storms are getting worse, if you notice that. You look at the weather, it's flooding in record amounts of smaller amount of time. You would get more rain condensed in 1 hour than you do in a whole entire week. I mean, that's what it's coming down to, okay? And tomorrow, my show, Prophecy Mondays, I'm actually going to title it, 2024 is slowly fading away, okay? What is going to happen between, the end of the year, all the way to the end of the year. I don't even know if we'll make it to the end of the year, okay? We're looking at this thing with Russia. I mean, I'm hearing rumors about NATO preparing. They did a drone assessment where they took their drones and flew them into Russian territory. I don't know how they did that. And they mapped out targets deep inside Russia. Folks, if NATO's getting ready to start striking Russia, that's where that spells nuclear war all over it. And the rapture of the church. Because we know that when those bombs start coming out, when those silos open up, that's it, man. We're out of here. Because I don't think he's going to bring this whole world to a nuclear war while this church is here. Yeah. And then Israel, of course, that's getting ready to blow off. And I know once this whole thing pops off, I think everybody's going to jump in like a riot at a game. Yep. When one person swings, they're all going to start fighting. And it's going to be one big hot mess of a war that breaks out within 24 hours. Yeah. And the news is going to be plastered with breaking news. This is blowing up over here. Now Israel front just started, and everybody's starting to fight at once. Yeah. Okay? And I believe that is what is going to be the trigger, the catalyst for the Antichrist to appear onto the world scene. That's how I believe that's what the world will look like
Yep.
at the time of the rapture. Now, according to Chris at Global Rapture Watch, he thinks that also that everything will just be just like this, okay? At a pause, calm before the storm. And that is true, because Jesus said that it'll be eating, drinking, marrying, and dining out. All at normalcy will be going on. And then suddenly the rapture takes place. And that is true. It's imminent. I could be out of here before I finish my next sentence. So the way I see it, folks, my week went okay. I'm always looking out my window, waiting, and not like that one picture that I got. I'm always looking out the window, waiting to see, listening for that horn, you know. And I also coming out with something new, a new show that's coming out. I'm gonna release a trailer. I'm not gonna talk about it right now. I'm just gonna let it be sort of a surprise. I hope everybody will probably be on
Can we
board.
watch the trailer here or what?
You can. It's not done. I'm still doing it in my editing program.
Okay.
But it's going to be really good. Hope everybody.
You know what I like about your stuff, Rick,
What's
is
up?
I look forward to seeing your trailers, man. They are amazing. I get all excited watching
thank
when
you.
you share with your voice and how you put it all together, and even your thumbnails are actually quite good. And I'm always like, oh, this is gonna be good, you know. So
Well, the YouTube
I like it. I like
says
setting
that.
it up. It's
YouTube
awesome.
says it make your thumbnails look enticing, like to bring in the audience. You know,
Yeah.
if you put just some boring thumbnail on there, people are gonna be like, oh, okay. They might just skip past you with their pointer, their mouse pointer. That's not what you want. You want them to click so they can hear the good news of Jesus Christ. That's the point. It's not clickbait. It's Jesus bait. Okay.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I want to get them
Fish
on
bait.
to. Yeah,
Maybe it's fish
clickbait,
bait.
Jesus bait, okay? And when they click on there, they're going to get clickbait into hearing the gospel, and they
like
may not
it.
be saved at that moment. And we
Whatever
planted a
works,
seed
man.
in that person. They walk away from their computer, and they're thinking, man, what is this all about? And they want to, their curiosity is sparked. And I lead them to different channels or whatever, and they start looking, and then they finally buy their first Bible, their Bible. And they open it up. That's where it starts, folks. The Word of God. And then they get saved finally. Hopefully before the rapture, folks. So do that right now today, folks. Get saved.
No, that's good. So the way we work on this channel as well is I introduced the topic of the rapture. But now after that first round of everybody going around, you guys feel free to introduce whatever topic, and then we can talk about that. We'll go around the table. So, for example, I've already done Black Swan. So Gary can introduce something, and then he could share, okay, what do you guys think? And then Bob, Amy, Rick talks about it. And then when Amy comes on, she could share whatever topic, if it's about Israel or whatever, then we would talk about her topic, if that makes sense. And it's just short, sweet, kind of modeled after the 5 on Fox International. And that way we can kind of get a little bit, because obviously what I can get in trouble with is I could just do a monologue about my favorite topic, and you guys are just listening to me the whole time, kind of like what you're doing right now. But I want to actually be able to interject with the panelists and share with us what's on your heart, what topic that you want to talk about, and then we'll jump in with you. So Gary, you're up on the hot seat.
I'm up.
Yeah.
Well, I've had some questions that maybe tonight some of our fellow men and women can help us. But I've had people asking me, does the temple and the situation with the red heifers, does that have to be in place for Jesus to come back?
No. Next question. Next question. Okay, Bob, you're up. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Gary. I'm kidding. That's a good question. It's a good question.
What are you doing, Shane?
He's not AI. He's not a clone.
But
no, that's a good
question. To clarify, is there anything else that has to be done before we're raptured?
Welcome back, Derek.
What do you think, Bob? What do you think? What are your thoughts? So the question is, with regards to the temple, maybe just ask it again, because I kind of interrupted you, so I apologize. Just ask it nice, short, concise.
Because I've had different people ask me about when I do different programs about does the red heifer situation, have they been sacrificed? Have they not? I mean, does it have to be built? Will we see it built, or will the rapture take place before it?
Good question.
Okay.
What do you think, Bob?
What do I think? I think the rapture have to take place before any of that stuff happens. Because look, you got to have they're ready for war. Ain't nobody going to construct a temple right now without a Muslim whipping a hammer somewhere, stealing stuff, blowing stuff up, killing people, shooting people. I mean, they can't even have a peaceful time at the Wailing Wall during feast days, especially, or any Friday morning for that matter. Okay, so there has to be something huge. There has to be a massive shift in order for things to be peaceful enough to start building that temple. Okay, and I also think too that the hand of restraint needs to be removed to build that temple, because that temple is built during Daniel's 70th week, and Daniel's 70th week doesn't start to the hand of restraint until the hand of restraint is removed. Okay, so they have that. You got to release this massive tension you have there with this war. Israel just declared war on Gaza. They're not building no temple right now. They're going to war. Okay. Temples are only built during peacetime. They're not built during times of war.
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
So there has to be a massive release, and I believe the Rapture Resurrection event will put an end to this war, because when they launch all their missiles at them, like I said before, when we leave, I think we have something to do with all those missiles being deflected from Jerusalem as we gather above Jerusalem at the Rapture Resurrection. I believe will form a shield and protect Jerusalem as our parting gift before we leave, before we come back in about 7 years. That's how I think it should. It makes sense to me how that should probably work out. So there's no temple going to go up until after the rapture, and that would mean too that the red heifers, we haven't seen anything about them. Seen nothing in the news. I don't know for sure if they sacrificed them already. Maybe they are that arrogant, Gary, where they could sacrifice them, thinking that they could just do whatever they want, even though their enemies are at the doorstep. I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer on the heifer. So,
Yep, for sure. Amy, what are your thoughts? You could talk about. You can continue the conversation, introduce something new, whatever. Like, basically, what are your thoughts about the temple having to be built? I agree with Bob from the perspective of it feels like when King Solomon did not build the temple when he was really, really young, when David was still trying to finalize all the war that was going on around, like making peace deals, all this stuff. When that was all done, then the blueprints were drawn up, then presented to King Solomon. And in King Solomon's time, there was peace, and he was able to now get help from outside of Israel to construct, to bring labor, all kinds of stuff, to bring gold, everything that was needed for the temple. You couldn't do that when King David was worried about being attacked by the Philistines, by Moab, by Ammon, all that kind of stuff. You couldn't do that. And basically it was after a major defeat of, I think it was Syria. And after that was it. Basically, David was on top of the world, and then King Solomon was able to build the temple. So if you think about it, like what Bob said, the idea, like right now, to be building it, like they're not at peace. They're not at peace right now. And the last thing you would want is to build it halfway and then somebody blows it up and then you got to start all over from scratch. I think it doesn't make sense to build something like that when you're at war. Until that subsides, even with like you could probably argue and have the red heifer ceremony and all this kind of stuff, but you're not building. I believe, like, you're not building. So that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts, Amy?
Yeah, that's good, Shane. All of what you guys said. Well, here's what we know from Scripture. We know that Scripture says the whole world is going to be against Jerusalem. The whole world is going to be against Israel. They're going to be in complete chaos. They're going to be at war with the nations around them. And we do know that the first seal that is broken is the Antichrist is going to come on the scene. And what do we see there? We see the rider on the white horse who has a bow with no arrow, which we think signifies he's coming to bring a false peace, right? So he is going to come at a time where basically like right now Israel is so ripe for this man of sin, this Antichrist. They are desperate for the Messiah.
Yep. A Messiah.
But unfortunately, them as a nation and whole, they're still partially blinded, and they are rejecting the real true Messiah, Jesus Christ, right now. But that's the whole point of the tribulation period, is so God can bring them to their knees and make them finally realize that Jesus Christ is their real Messiah. But unfortunately, they're going to accept this false Messiah, this false man of peace. And what do we read in Daniel 9:27? That this Antichrist is going to confirm a covenant with many. And what is he going to do? It does say that he's going to stop the temple sacrifices. I don't know. I'm not saying that's included in 9:27. I can't think exactly right now where that scripture is located, but I do know it says that somewhere. And so we know that the first seal, and basically to kind of circle it around, the first seal is broken. That's when the Antichrist comes on the scene, bringing this false peace. What do we know before the first seal is broken? Rapture of the church. Rapture of the church comes, and I do believe that when the Antichrist comes and he brings this false peace to Israel, I think it's going to be him making a deal with them, allowing them to finally build their third temple. And I think that that's what's probably going to be them thinking that, oh, he's our man, he's our guy, he's our Messiah, the one that we've been longing for.
Yeah, that seems to be the most reasonable explanation, is that he actually facilitates the idea of building the temple. I don't know how else to look at it, Amy.
Right, and that's why I do think that the rapture of the church probably happens first before the building of the temple. Yeah, so I mean, I believe in the doctrine of the imminence of the rapture. It can happen at any moment, but we do believe it. It's pre-trib. We're not here for the tribulation period, and when we see, like Derek, you mentioned before, when you see those Christmas lights going up, what comes first? We know Thanksgiving is near.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Rick, what are your thoughts? Do you think the temple
Your mic is fading in and out.
My mic?
Now it's better. What's up?
Do you think the temple has to be built? I'm going to go ASMR on you.
I know, you sound like you're whispering in my ear, man.
I'm whispering,
Back away a
Rick.
little bit.
So do you think, do you like this? Do you like my voice now?
It
'Cause
sounds
I'm
great.
in your head. I'm in your head now,
Sounds
Rick.
like Jesus is talking to me right now in my head.
So do you think the temple is going to be built first before the rapture?
Well, the way I look at it is the signing of the covenant that's already been drawn up. It's actually just made greater at the time of the Antichrist signs it. Right now we know about it because they were working on it for the past couple years. They just ratify, or what's the word I'm looking for? They confirm, not to confirm it, but they made it more. They drawed it up, all the blueprints. They put it together in the UN. I can't remember what it was. I think it was when that 153 thing came up. I think they did something on it there. But it's a 7-year contract. Is all they did, is they drawed it up. They guaranteed Israel and its borders a peace agreement. Okay, but the Antichrist comes in and confirms it, makes it greater. Okay, and he signs it on the dotted line. That commences the 7 years. Okay, well, in this contract, there is, I believe, this is just my opinion, that they'll have the included paragraph of the building of the third temple will now be initiated at a set date after that, which they can put in the lines later, and they could get with the builder contractors and do a business deal with them, which could have already been drawn up at the time of the contract. And they will go ahead and build this magnificent temple. That's what the Antichrist will call it. It'll be a temple fitted for him. Okay, so he can rule from it. Okay, it's a place of where he wants to be at, to dwell at. Well, that's what I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Now, we know the rapture comes first. Then the Antichrist comes out on the world scene, and then he confirms a contract with the Israel and the rest of the world, guaranteeing its peace. Okay, peace and safety possibly. And then in that contract, I believe in the fine print will be a builder's contract included to build this temple that they've been wanting to build for years, which they've already got the utensils already set up. They got the robes, they got a lot of the stuff already ready to go into this new building that will be ready. The cornerstone hasn't been erected. I believe they probably got the location set. They're just waiting for the signing of an agreement contract, and then this thing will start building. Now we know that they can build buildings quickly because I watched the building downtown get built in almost a year. Yeah. Now we know that he places himself in this building, this temple, during the 3.5 year mark and declaring himself God. Okay, so it will be built very quickly because remember, the Antichrist will have access to unlimited funds. He'll have unlimited power over the world. He'll be able to get this done quickly. I wouldn't be surprised they build it in 6 months. Okay, and then he will move into his quarters there, and he will stay there and rule. He'll live out of the temple, but he'll rule from it, and he'll remain there for the rest of the tribulation. Now we know that, I don't know if this temple gets destroyed when Jesus comes back, but it will be in Jerusalem. I believe that's real. But maybe Jesus kicks him out after he sends him to hell and everything at the end of the tribulation, and then Jesus will move right into the area of that temple. It'll be redone for him, of course, and that's part where he will rule with a rod of iron for 1,000 years. So they're actually building it not just for the end. I think that they're building it for Jesus. Now, correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but like I said, that's my opinion on this. Some of it's based on fact, based on the Bible scriptures, but we know that there's such a temple coming during the tribulation. It will be built during the first 3.5 years. We will not be here for it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rick. What are your thoughts, Derek? Do we need a temple? What's interesting, I think what's kind of going around is back in Jesus' day, Jesus said, if you destroy this temple, I will rebuild it in 3 days. And they're like, you're not even 46 years old or whatever, or you're not 50. I forget what it was. But basically this temple, I think they said it took 46 years to build. I could be wrong about that, but it seemed like it was a massive project by Herod. And I don't think he was a Jew, which is interesting that he built it. And then the first temple was actually rebuilt by, who is the Nebuchadnezzar? Was it Nebuchadnezzar or the guy after him? Cyrus. That sent everybody back to basically try and repair it, really. Mm-hmm. And it was in such a disarray that basically after they built it, the people that saw the original temple, some were cheering. Probably the young people were like, this is amazing, look at this. And then the older generation that saw the original temple were actually wailing at the same time with their hands in the air, wailing so bad that you couldn't tell the difference between cheers and jeers at how small the first temple was. Like, basically they just put a floor plan, here it is, we'll build it over top of the original temple where Solomon is and try and repair it. And it was like, it's done, but it wasn't quite up to standards. It was just built. Then Herod comes along, builds it in, I think, 46 years. But it was magnificent, like so much that the disciples said to Jesus, look at how beautiful these stones are and how they're arrayed and everything. And then we know what Jesus said to that in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. But Derek, so what are your thoughts regards to the temple being built before the rapture? Could they build it today?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, you are correct in everything you said. You know, that second temple was, you know, some of them were cheering and some of them were like, oh man, this is a wreck. And then Herod did come along and improve it. But, you know, I'm very much in agreement with everything that all of the rest of the panelists have said, Bob and Amy and Rick, you know. And what I will say is this, okay, so when we're talking about the timing of the rebuilding of the temple, it's similar in a way to talking about the timing of the rapture, okay? We know that there's going to be a rapture. Everybody, you know, post-trib, mid-trib, whatever, everybody's in agreement. There's coming a rapture. We often argue about the timing. And the reason why is because, you know, there's no one specific verse that you can go to. This is it. This is what it says. Here's what you have to do. You have to take this book. You got to go here. You can't have one verse. You got to start at the beginning, go all the way to the end. When you're done going all the way to the end, go back to the beginning and do it over a few more times. Because only until you know the whole book do you understand the solid reason for a pre-tribulation rapture. The doctrine, the solid doctrine is there, but you have to connect the dots, okay? So it's the same way with the rebuilding of the temple and the timing of the rebuilding of the temple. Biblically, we can't say that there's any Bible verse that says, oh yeah, it's going to be before the rapture or it's going to be after the rapture. There's nothing there, no meat that we could say. But if you connect all the dots by realizing everything else that's in the Bible, talking about the man of sin who's going to come, he's going to make a covenant, he's going to strengthen a covenant. Well, how, like has been discussed, we already have a covenant in place. How would you strengthen that? How would you sweeten the deal, especially with Israel right now? Because Israel, let's form a quick timeline. Okay, so we have the covenant. I think that we're all kind of in agreement with is the Abrahamic Accords, which brought a sense of peace to the Middle East. Then that got disrupted. We have a different administration in with different policy, and so that got disrupted. Our foreign policy changed. And so now Israel has had a tremendous, kick in the pants with October 7th. We're almost a year after October 7th. So now you're going to really have to bring something to the table to get Israel to say, yeah, we're willing to make peace with our neighbors because they just got kicked in the pants. So what would you bring to the table? Well, if you let them rebuild the temple, that would certainly be an incentive. So what I'm saying is I think if we put all of these little dots together, we can see that the rebuilding of the temple in reality should be connected with that man of sin. Okay, again, we can't pick one verse out, but I really strongly feel all those dots point to that. So now, if we can connect those dots and say, yes, that's connected to the man of sin, well, when does the man of sin come? Now we have to look like what Amy was saying. Look back at the seals. It's that first seal. And so now, again, if we build on that solid doctrine of the tribulation rapture, that's why we know the rapture happens before those seals, because we are not appointed to wrath. That was actually kind of my first video that sort of launched this whole thing on YouTube. It caught the attention of Uptime, and then we're not appointed to wrath. We're not appointed to that age of lawlessness, that mystery of lawlessness that we live in right now. It's going to end when the age of grace is over, and then comes that wrath, and that wrath is only appointed to people that haven't accepted Jesus in this age of grace. Why would we have to go through that? So that's kind of my answer to it. I think it's a lot of connecting the dots, but the way I see it, the rebuilding of the temple does not. And by the way, let me say one more thing about the red heifers too, because that's kind of what started this whole conversation. So I do believe, the red heifers are a significant sign pointing to how close we are. Whether they have sacrificed one or not, we don't know. I do know that there are restrictions. When they get to a certain age, they're not really as qualified. They have to be fairly young to be worthy of a sacrifice. So they're still at that point now, but the clock's ticking. I take care of cows for a living. I raise a herd of cows, and they don't live forever. At the outside, you're looking at, lifespan of a cow is maybe 20, 25 years. So the clock's ticking, and for them to be young, I'd say the clock is ticking. I'm talking probably 5 years is probably the outset of what they would use this cow for a sacrifice. But having said that, they could sacrifice one, and they can keep the ashes indefinitely. I mean, in fact, before these red heifers were discovered, because there have been many starts and stops with red heifers over the years. Back in the 90s, there was, if you followed prophecy in the 90s, there was a fellow rancher down in Mississippi called Clyde Lott. He was the first one to provide red heifers, but they turned out, they had a few white hairs or what, so they got scrapped. But, they've been pursuing a red heifer for some time at some point. And prior to that, what they were doing in conjunction with looking for red heifer, they've been doing archaeological excavations looking for the ashes of a previous red heifer. So in other words, if they found the ashes of a red heifer that was sacrificed, 2,000 years ago, that would be just as acceptable to purify the temple. So what I'm saying is, if they sacrifice one of these heifers, they can save those ashes as long as they want. But I still look at the times we live in, and I don't really think that the times we live in permit that. I still think that the clock is ticking. You can look around and just see the clock is ticking.
Right. Good. Thank you for that. Bob, what do you have to introduce to us? If there's you can continue on around the clock with the temple, or you can introduce another topic that you would like to talk about.
Introduce another topic here. That was a good stuff to talk about. They're very important. I would like to talk a little bit about how much worse things are going to get around here potentially before the rapture. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Okay, this is what the stuff that we're going to deal with,
right?
That we should be ready for. Okay, and by talking about this stuff, it also kind of shows that hey, the rapture resurrection has to be sooner than later, because, for example, perfect example. Okay, we are what 60 some days out or 50 some days out from the elections. That's a big one, because not only is it big for us, most of us here in the United States, but it will affect you in Canada, but globally, because the U.S. elections affects the whole world. When the United States goes down, the whole world goes down. Okay, but I think in order to take the United States down, the rapture resurrection has to happen ultimately. Okay, we had it where angels were approaching individuals, global rapture watchers. I talked about this before, where they said that the United States election will be interrupted by the rapture. Okay, they said that they told them back in 2013 that the 2020 elections will be interrupted by sickness. Okay, and the election will be below par, which it was. So now they're saying at the exact same time, they also said that the 2024 election will be even more interesting because it'll be affected by the rapture. All right. So everybody's looking, and I'm seeing all the predictions coming out right now. Oh, there's going to be a massive cyber attack. And they think they're going to do that in order to affect. We just lose our host. I guess we're still online, right?
Yeah.
But so a massive cyber attack they think is going to affect the elections. Everybody's talking about some massive event is coming, and everybody's ready for it. The October surprise, that's going to affect the elections. But what we've seen and what I believe is coming is the actual rapture resurrection event is what's going to affect the elections. Because here in the United States right now, we are set up for some crap right now, because they, like I said before, they have allowed 50 million military-aged men over the course of several years, even decades, into our country, and they have taken care of them, positioned them, and they have their orders, and essentially waiting for their bat signal in the sky to start carrying out their orders, a coordinated attack. But I think something that big can only be orchestrated or can only take off. I mean, corporately, all of them move forward. That can only take place after the hand of restraint is removed. So after the rapture. So just like Rick was saying, there are people, and Jesus said himself that there will be in the time his return be like the days of Noah. They'll be marrying, giving in marriage. Okay, business as usual. So that would mean that not everywhere in the world is going to be war torn. Now we're starting to see some war torn pockets here in America, but we do have plenty of areas where it's business as usual. Okay, but eventually it's not going to be that way. But Jesus said that they'll be marrying, giving in marriage. So basically, Jesus was saying is, hey, look, let me say it like this: Jesus didn't say that his return would be like the days of Noah, where everywhere there was fighting, not one square inch was peace. It's just fighting everywhere. Okay, he didn't say that. He said that there's peace. So I think that there will be some pockets here in America, essentially your red states, red areas. Okay, I think it's pretty easy to see that. It's the cities that are locking down. They're already locking down. They're locking down because of all the migrant problem. Okay, the military-aged men, they're starting. Some of them are acting out now, taking over hotels in Aurora, Colorado, and taking over hotels in Chicago. Okay, they're telling people to stay locked down. All right, stay where you're at. Okay, listen, peasant. All right, they're also telling people to lock down because of certain sicknesses, from little bugs that buzz in the air. And what's amazing about that is that's actually happening in New York, and they're like, hey, we need to spray this stuff all over the place now because of these bugs. I'm like, hold on a second here. What's in the stuff that you're spraying now? Because you guys are really excited about spraying this stuff everywhere. Is it the mosquitoes or we should be worried about, or the stuff you're spraying? That's the way I think. I don't trust any of these guys. But we are on the verge of something because the Deagle report says we're all gone by next year, especially here in America. America doesn't fare well in the Deagle reports. Other countries kind of stay the same, but not in America. 90% of us are gone by this time next year. We got to remember that. Now, will God stop that plan from moving forward? I don't know. He did potentially maybe stop Trump from getting assassinated. Okay. So what do you guys think? That's basically my question. How much worse do you think, how much more do you think we're going to go through before the rapture takes place? That's like my question.
Go ahead. That's good. Amy, what are your thoughts on that? How much do you think it's going to get better before it gets worse, or do you think it's going to get worse before?
Well, based off the Bible, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, because what do we know? In this current dispensation of grace, it ends in evil increasing, basically. We'll put it that way. Everything will deteriorate. The morality of man is deteriorating, and it will continue to deteriorate. And what happens when the morality deteriorates? Wickedness and violence abounds. And so that's what we're going to continue to see happening. And it's like Bob said, with all the illegal migrants that came across that are men, military aged men, they're in very bad gangs. Our country can only hold so many of those until, they just start attacking all of us. And I don't know if we really want to go down that rabbit hole. You would think that that's their plan. That's why they invited them here, probably. Because they want America to decrease. And, there's just so much going on with the deterioration of not just our nation, but the whole world.
Yeah.
And we can see what's coming again. What looks like is starting to reach our doorstep again is, I got to watch my language here because I don't want to get your channel shut down, Shane. But the WEF, if you guys just follow what the WEF is saying, you will be completely shocked if you hear what these evil elite people are saying. They're basically telling us what they're going to do, and it's crazy that not enough people are aware. Americans, they don't even, and even if they did know, they're not even doing anything. It's crazy. But this is what Scripture says. We know that evil is going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
And what's coming on our doorstep, from what we can see that the WEF has been saying, is I'll say how I like what Chris's terminology is, the hokey pokey. There's some it's been reported that there's been a bunch of ships apparently that came over with some new hokey pokies for the.
What about the funky monkey? That would be kind of a good term. Hokey pokey, funky monkey. We got codes here, so
jibber jabbers,
jibber jabbers,
jibber jabbers.
And Bob says the Rafiki. Yes,
I like that one. That should be patent. That should be patent pending. Okay, sorry to cut you off, Amy.
No, this is great. No, that's great, Shane. What is that? Do they have the hokey pokies for that? Is that what's coming over? Are they going to start enforcing that? Me and my husband actually just saw a commercial on today where they were showing people with the face diapers, and they said, "Yeah, we better start putting those on again."
Wow.
So
nope, that's crazy. Thank you for sharing that. Here's something I'm going to be introducing shortly. This is an envelope. One of my pals came up with this idea, but what I'm going to do is, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this, but this is an envelope. And what I'm going to do is, I got two envelopes. I am going to make some predictions just for fun. And I'm going to put this inside like a time capsule. So basically in here, and I'm going to date it to be opened on November 6th after the election. And I'm going to just put some little predictions, like little tiny things, like who won the World Series, maybe who is actually going to be the president of the United States, or is it martial law, whatever it is. I'm going to write this all down, and I'm going to seal it in an envelope, because there are people that are like, they come out of the woodworks after the assassination for attempt of Donald Trump, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw this and I knew this was going to happen, whatever it is. And they're like, I knew the day and blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. But where were you the day before or 2 days before, right? It would have been nice to sound the alarm and say, hey, I feel like in Pennsylvania, this is going to happen. So what I want to do, and this is just more for a conversation piece, to put this in, and I don't know if you guys are open to something like that, where you just write one little tiny prediction and you could PDF it to me or send me in a Word doc. I could put it in here and seal this baby up. And then on the 6th of November, if we're still here, we open it up, and then we can pull them out and go, oh, look at this. This is what Bob predicted, or this is what Shane predicted. He thought Tiger Woods was going to come out of retirement and win the PGA Open or the Masters or whatever, that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys are open. If not, I am crazy enough to do something like that. And it doesn't have to be crazy predictions, but I like the idea of sealing it up and then opening it up like in 50 some days from now, and then going, okay, let's see what we were talking about 2 months ago. Oh, we were talking about that. Isn't that interesting? This guy just kind of disappeared off the planet. He used to be a big deal and now he's nothing. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Good idea.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Okay. So send 1 or 2 predictions in a PDF or a Word doc, and then email it to me, and I'll print it out, and then I'll put it in the envelope. I'll seal it, and I won't tell anybody what your predictions are or whatever it is, including mine, but I'll just seal it up, and hopefully I'll remember where I put it, because I'm horrible at that kind of stuff. But I think it'd be kind of fun to seal it up and then come back in 50 some days and then go, okay, here's what Derek predicted. Here's what Gary did. Gary predicted that he would be the bowling champion of the United States of America. Who knows what, right? It'd be interesting, like a time capsule kind of thing. So, Rick, what are your thoughts around what Bob just suggested? Is it going to get worse, or do you? I can kind of guess. I think you're leaning on the fence where things are getting better. I'm just
Well,
spitballing here.
let's
Rick
do
of all
that.
people.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's do. I don't know if y'all believe in parallel universes where
Oh,
all
don't get me
events can.
started on that. Don't get me
Okay,
started. We
well,
got
I'm just
focus
gonna.
here.
I know,
Focus on
but
what Bob said. Bob said, is it getting worse or is it getting better? What do you think, Rick?
okay. Well, I'll save that for a separate video on my channel then. All right.
Okay. And
But
invite me onto your channel. I'd love to talk about parallel universes on your channel.
it's this for use for an example. I'm not gonna really talk about it, but
Okay.
it's sort of an example. But
Okay.
is it gonna get worse? Well, we know things are gonna get worse because Jesus said it will. Everything is just plain simple in the Bible that everything is gonna escalate as we get closer. It's the birth pains. That's explained well in the Bible that everything's gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse. If we're still here next year, which I hope we're not, I can't sit here and say we're going to be gone for sure. We think it looks good so far the way things are going, but if we're here next year, 2025 is going to shatter all the records in 2024. It's going to put it to shame. Now, people are going to say, well, we're still here. We didn't get raptured. Oh, man, we got to go through this whole year stuff again. No, we may not have to. Because when we get to 2025, things are going to be even worse, and that's going to bring out the nuclear war stuff a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot worse for it to be triggered, and then the Lord knows the rapture's in there somewhere, folks. It's in there. In the next couple months, it's in there. It's tucked away at the hour down to the second. Only God knows that. Now, if he's got it scheduled in 25, it's not going to be all the way to the end of next year. It's going to be just too bad. Things are just going to pop off right away once we get into 25, if we do get there. If God's going to use Harris to revive the nation, our nation here in the U.S., use her to bring the final nail in the coffin, use her to revival, then that is probably why she may win. And people are going to be like, they're going to be begging because everything's going to get really bad in her with her, being in power. Now, I'm sorry if your channel should not be hit for this. It's right. We have a right to freedom of speech. our opinion to who we think how this next leader is going to do. All right, we're allowed to do that. Okay, you know, I believe that she's going to really screw things up even worse than Biden. Okay, but she's like a laughing hyena. She doesn't know what's going on. She's going to get in there and she's going to put her lipstick on probably before they even go live. Oh, am I live? Okay, hold on. Put my lipstick down. Hey, my fellow Americans. No, it's a joke, folks. That's how it's going to be. And it's going to screw everything up. Now, really down what it's going to mean, that's part of everything's going to get worse. And it can be used as a revival tool and revive us right in through 25. But the thing about, let me get down to what I'm really saying here. They're about to hand the nuclear codes off to Harris. Okay? If she wakes up on a bad hair day, then you know how it could be for that. It spells out a disaster in 2025. She could just say, I'm having a bad hair day, just get rid of them. Just shoot the nukes at them now. Here, she breaks the codes out, puts the key in the thing, and it's all over with, and we're out of here. Okay? That could all very well happen, that scenario. Okay? She's leading by 7 points over Trump. You know? And we know that that's not true, folks. Trump is winning by far. He's winning. He's already won the election. She's way in the back of the polls. They're fidgeting the numbers. We don't have to get into all that. And I'm sorry, folks. Let's be real here. It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Trump's not going to come in there and save us all and have 4 more years. We've had that chance. We messed it up. We didn't repent during that 4 years. Guy gave us 4 years of blessings under his presidency. And guess what? Bam! We messed it up. We basically told God off and say, to hell with you, man. We're going to live the way we want to live. And that, the hell with you. That's basically what we dealt God during that whole 4 years. God says, I'm going to send you someone then that's going to mess up your world. He sent Biden, and then boom, we still didn't repent even during that time. Things got hard. Still didn't see it. People are still going downtown partying. So you know what? God's going to finish it off. The X over America with the eclipse. And I'm going to give you Harris. Let's see how you like that, guys. It's going to get worse. That's my answer.
So here's the quote of the day. This is perhaps what you have to look forward to in America if Harris becomes a president. The significance, and I'll pretend I'm her, of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time. Whatever that means, I have no idea, but that's a direct quote from her. So you guys have that to look forward to. Derek, what do you think?
Word salad. Yum, yum, yum. Word salad.
Word salad.
Here's what I think. First of all, my first comment is in all these code words, Rafiki and hokey pokey and all these code words that we're reduced to. Do you
Funky Monkey. Don't forget about Funky Monkey. Patent it right here.
Have you thought about this? That we are reduced to what the early Christians were doing. Right?
Code. That's right. Yeah.
So
interesting.
We're going back to the early days of the church. Now, as far as will things get better or will things get worse? And I tell you what, I am totally tracking with what Rick is saying. I actually just did a video on my channel where I kind of started out with a little movie review about Reagan because I had just seen Reagan, but I also talked about the upcoming election. And I can assure you that God has a plan for our nation, both under President Trump and under Vice President Harris. If either one of these two persons would repent and would seek God with their whole heart, God has a plan for America, either under him or under her. However, the opposite is also true. The devil has a plan for America as well. Okay. And that could be true under Harris or under Trump. If either one is proud and hard in their hearts and they're haughty and pride, God's going to let the devil have his way with America under either one. So there's a plan with God for America. There's also a plan for the devil. Now, so we're discussing, will things get better or will things get worse? Let me say this. I got a confession to make. Okay. I was at one time, and to some extent, maybe still am a little bit, what I would call like a mid-level prepper. Okay, I can remember when Obama first got in, and I started to see my country like just like I never thought I would see this in America. Okay, and I started thinking, man, I better get my stuff together just in case. Just in case. And I tried to be a little more self-sufficient, a little bit more independent. And over the years, what I've learned is this: I've learned that when we see what looks like disaster, God can hold that disaster off as long as He wants.
Yeah.
There's no reason to fear. Okay, when I look at it, there was a lot of fear in the 2008 election over the economy. That's what got Obama into power, was fear. The same is true for the 2020 election. There was fear over a different thing that afflicted our country, but that's what got Biden into power, was fear. Fear is your worst enemy. And over the years, I have learned not to fear these things. I've learned God is well able to take
Sorry, I got a sneeze here. I apologize. Bat flu. Oh,
there you go.
Sorry.
Okay. So
go ahead.
God is well able to care for us no matter what's going on. So what my position is right now, and this is what I kind of got into in this video. Okay, there are points in a nation's history, like with Israel, when Israel was in deep sin, that God said to Jeremiah, "Don't pray for him. I'm not going to listen." And he said to Ezekiel, he said, "If these three men were standing before me, Noah, Daniel, and they
Job,
would only save themselves by their own righteousness and no one else." And you look at that and you think, wow, I'm nowhere near as righteous as Noah or Daniel or Job. What hope do I have? There's actually a lot of hope. I'm going to leave that because I'm going to force you to go watch my video over on my channel. There's a reason we can all be in that righteousness. We can all live in that. And so when I look at, are things going to get better or are things going to get worse between now and the rapture? I think both is true. Things are going to definitely get worse. They're going to get worse and worse because that's what the Bible predicts. It doesn't predict this great end. I hate to say it. I wish there was a great end times revival. It says that evil men are going to wax worse and worse. But I will also say this. This could absolutely be the best time of your life if you are a follower of Christ. I know this sounds cliche. I know it sounds hokey or whatever, but let me tell you something. Since I stopped fearing, I laid up a little preparations, and that's great. You know what? Like Rick was talking about, there's bad weather in Florida. It doesn't hurt to have, a couple weeks of food or a month of food just in case you had a natural disaster. And you know what? Set aside some so you're not greedy. So if your neighbors need some help, you can help your neighbors too, because that's what a Christian does. And that's how you get the gospel out, by showing you care. So there's nothing wrong with that. But don't fear. Do not fear, because God has got you. And if you're a Christian, I know this is going to sound cliche. I know it sounds hokey. Okay. I literally cannot outrun my blessings these days. The way God has blessed me in my job, in my family life, in my ministry, being able to do this stuff with you guys, I literally can't outrun them these days. And so as dark as the world gets, and as much as I look forward to the rapture, I also look forward to plan B. If the rapture doesn't come tomorrow, what am I going to do tomorrow? It's going to be great. Whatever it is, it's going to be great because I'm with the Lord and He's directing my steps.
Yep. No, that's good. Thank you for that. So I have a little quote here, and I want you guys to guess who it's from. Let's see if I can make this show up. I'm going to put it up here and see if you can guess. I'm going to do another impersonation here. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Another great quote. You guys have to guess who that is. But Rick, do you think things are going to get better before they get worse? What's your thoughts? Gary, not Rick. Rick, you already went one time. Gary, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very clear in 2 Timothy 3 that, that in the last days, perilous times will come. And we are experiencing everything that's being said in 2 Timothy 3. You read that and you look around, you just watch a few seconds of the news, which I'd encourage you not to do, because I'll be in a mindset where I'm like Derek is there, where God, I know, is blessing me. Sometimes it doesn't look like it. It doesn't feel like it, but I know deep down He's blessing me. And sometimes that is tangible. And then you turn on the news and even with the trickle down effect. What happens in Washington doesn't necessarily directly fall on us immediately. It takes sometimes years, maybe an entire span of another election to feel it on the local end. So why should I worry about something that may or may not happen? And the news is kind of like the wars going on. There's wars and rumors of wars. Well, there's news and fake news of news, and we don't know what to believe. And why let all of that dictate how I'm going to feel for the day? And but I read the book, and I know that there are in these last days perilous times, and I know there won't be no great big revival. I think we'll see pockets of revival. We saw that 2 years ago with Asbury College in Kentucky, and then there's also some others that have popped up. I think even this weekend I was reading about Corpus Christi, Texas. I believe they had a big revival, and a bunch of children came to know the Lord and baptized and stuff. And I mean, I know God's not done with us, you know, and I think a lot of times we get so heavenly minded that we've got our ticket out of here and we got it in our hand, and we forget we're still here. We're still an ambassador. We haven't been pushed to our next job with God yet. So let's not forget about the people around us. And I agree with Derek about the prep thing, you know, that yes, there is, with the tornadoes that come through here and Indiana. I know Bob sees them too, and in the Midwest. And Amy, she lives where they start. We get her storm, it comes down. And I mean, it does pay to be somewhat prepared, because we don't know how many days we might be without lights, might be without some things. But no, we need to be hopeful. I mean, you know, that's all we can do is just be hopeful, and our blessed hope will come, and it's coming. It's on the way.
I agree with that. Always. I think the general consensus is occupy, because Jesus could come at any time. And also, if I can interject, we don't know when our time is up.
Right.
So we're cutting her close a little bit on time. So what I'd like to do is have Amy introduce her topic, and then you can also share your final thought as well, Amy, if you don't mind. And then we'll go to Rick, and then Derek. So basically, it'll be topic / final thought, if you will. So make it like 5 minutes or so. And then Derek, and then Gary and Bob will have the last word. So Amy, go ahead.
Okay, well, I kind of just want to leave off to encourage all of my Christian brothers and sisters. I want to show you guys just how we are watching the reality of the Bible playing out. So I want to encourage you guys and just kind of spark a little, you know, faith increase in you guys. There's this article that came out, and this is from Amir Sarfati on his Telegram. And I saw it, and I saw the picture, and I sent it to Shane.
Yep.
So,
do you want me to bring it up?
Here, I'm going to read this article first, and then I'll have you bring it up.
Okay.
So Turkey's president Erdogan has called for Islamic countries to ally against the growing threat of expansionism from Israel. Okay, so the president of Turkey has called for all the Islamic countries to ally together because they are scared about the expansionism of Israel. So go ahead and pull up that picture, Shane. And I just want to show you all, a lot of you guys already probably know this, but for anyone that doesn't, this goes to show the reality of God in the Bible, because this can only be a supernatural blindness over all of their eyes. So all those blue countries that you see, those are all of the Arab League states. Those are all the Arab League states. That little red speck you see, that's the size of Israel. All of those Arab countries are worried about that little tiny speck of Israel right there. They all feel that they need to ally together against that little place. And this is right now, this is where the whole world is burdened with, that little piece of land right there. And that's exactly what the Bible says will be going on in the end days, that God himself will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all of the end time generations. And so to me, like looking at this, it gave me a spark. Well, first off, it's really angering. It's really angering because I feel angry about the injustice right now that is, the whole world is coming against them when all they're doing is fighting for their right to exist, and against all of these countries that want to wipe them off the map. And then at the same time, God has he has revealed this to us in his word. This just goes to show the reality that, all those nations right now, everyone, like the majority of the world, they have rejected Christ. So when you reject Jesus Christ, you are receptive to the lies of the enemy. So the only logical explanation on why the whole world is against that little tiny speck and all those Arab League nations are against them, the only logical explanation is the reality of God and the reality of Satan. He's the one that is stirring this up and blinding, all these people to hate them for just no reason. So yeah, that's just kind of what I wanted to bring to the table today.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Amy. Rick, how are you doing, Rick? Brother Rick. Come talk to me, Rick. Talk to me, brother. You need your mic on, brother. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rick. You still need your mic on, Rick. I'm in your ear right now. Rick, turn on your mic. Turn it on. Rick. There you go.
Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. There was a button blocking it or something. May I put a picture up while I talk like she did?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let me just do that, if it'll let me do it or not. This thumbnail here, folks, is the thumbnail that is going to be chosen. I don't know if you see it, but it should be up on the screen by now. This is the thumbnail will be for tomorrow night's show for my YouTube channel. 2024 is slowly fading away. Will we make it to 2025? That's going to be the title of my show along with this thumbnail. If you can look at the picture, we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. We're in the field looking up at the sky. I did this image in AI, folks. Can you believe it or not? I put it in Photoshop. I did the 2024 myself. But I told AI to do this image, and look how perfect it looks. Can't beat the AI today. So I could have done that in Photoshop myself. It would have been a lot harder to do. But why not go to AI and let it do it? But that is what I have on my mind right now. It's fading away. It's going. The year will never be back again once we enter the next year. Never again. Question is, these events are not going away. Only God sees what event is about to transpire in the next couple months. Will we make it to the elections? That's the big question. Will we make it till November 5th? I had a dream years ago, over 10 years ago, of thousands of jack-o'-lantern pumpkins lit up in my neighborhood street. Normally, there's only one jack-o'-lantern in front of every home, just about, whatever participates in Halloween. But I saw thousands of them. And it was transpired by some event, I don't know, from the sky or something major took place. I just can't figure out what happened in the dream. It's been 10 years, so it's a long time to remember. But we are now coming up on October. The feast holidays have been all bumped forward to October. This year is special because it's the most important year in history, because this is the elections that are coming up. The next president gets elected is going to be the outcome for the next 4 years.
Yep.
While we're gone, of course, that is,
Yep.
I hope.
Yep.
And how it's going to affect America and the rest of the world. Because whatever happens in America and how we do our stuff here does affect the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Our policies, etc. And of course, having her in charge of the nuclear codes.
Yeah.
That's another big thing.
Yep.
So, what did I see in that dream? I don't know. What does it mean? Why were there jack-o'-lanterns in this dream? Well, They were all carved out pumpkins. It looked like Halloween pumpkins. Their faces and their eyes were orange. That obviously happens in what month? October. We have the feast holidays coming up in October. So, folks, I am having goosebumps just thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
Are we going to see something happen in October where the Lord removes his church and we go because he saw something big, dangerously coming in the next year that's coming our way? He got us out of here way ahead of time. Or is there a nuke going to go off in Israel? Israel going to get hit with a nuke? Is Iran have their nukes already? They're not going to tell us, folks.
Yeah.
They're in bed with Russia. Russia's already slipped them like 5 nukes already, and they're just sitting in a warehouse deep underground, waiting to boot for the right moment. They're not going to say that. You know, like I said, folks. Closing statement.
Yeah.
Do you want to be here for this? Do you really want to be here, or do you want to go up into the clouds with the rest of us?
Yeah.
Give your life to Jesus Christ right now. You see that image? That is what I'm thinking about right now, folks. And you should be thinking about it too. You can go ahead and take the image down.
Yeah, no, it's good. Leave it up for 1 sec. I have some title ideas for you. Listen to this. 2024. The final countdown. How about that one?
That sounds good.
The turning point for humanity? Question mark. Or 2024. Is this the end game? Man, those are good. Those are good.
That sounds good. Why you incorporating your titles there, Shane?
I should.
Juggle around some names.
So, Derek, thank you, Rick, for that. Derek, what's your kind of your final thoughts here?
Well, I think my final thoughts, first of all, I appreciate the graphic that Amy brought up that you showed because, that actually reminds me, I told you I posted my testimony over on YouTube this week. That was a very early part of my coming to faith in the Lord was, I think at one point in our young adult lives, we all wonder, is there really a God? Even if you're raised, I was raised in church, but, I heard stories when I was a kid, like if I lost a tooth, I'd get $1 under my pillow, and then you find out, oh, there's no tooth fairy, So you say to yourself, is God just a story? Is he real? And when I started reading the Bible for myself, it was exactly the image that Amy showed that came to the front of my mind that, for thousands of years, people have been trying to destroy this people called the Jewish people. But for God, if there was no God, Pharaoh would have taken them out years ago. Haman would have taken them out in the days of Esther years ago. They would have been wiped out under Hitler. They would have been gone so many times, and they still live in that rough neighborhood where everybody hates them, everybody wants them gone, but God. So that was one of my very first inclinations to say, yeah, it's all real. There is a God. So I appreciate that graphic. I got something that I want to share that I came across today that I thought was kind of interesting. I'm just going to give this up for my closing thoughts because, like when Amy showed that graphic, it just shows how what you see is all written about in the Bible. Okay. And I came across this article today that I thought was kind of interesting. It's out of the Daily Express. And it says, Earth's giant gateway to hell triples in size in 30 years and is visible from space. It says, the terrifying hole is known as the gateway to the underworld or gateway to hell. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole article, but basically it's someplace over in Russia that apparently there's a hole in the permafrost that they believe is like a gateway to the underworld. And supposedly it's tripled in size, over the past however many years. And the reason I bring this up, why I find it interesting, is because the Bible, I filter everything in my mind through the Bible. This is why I always say, read this book cover to cover. When you get done, read it again. When you get done, read it again. When you get done, keep reading it, read it again, because you will find so much stuff that just sticks in the back of your mind. And then you see a news article like this, okay? And I read a news article on this, and I think of, where have I seen that before? Listen to Isaiah 5. Isaiah 5, verse 8. Woe to those who join house to house. They add field to field till there's no place where they may dwell alone in the midst of the land. In my hearing, the Lord of hosts said, truly many houses shall be desolate, great and beautiful ones without inhabitant. For 10 acres of vineyards shall yield 1 bath, and a homer of seed shall yield 1 ephah. Woe to those who rise early in the morning that they may follow intoxicating drink, who continue until night till wine inflames them, the harps and the strings the tambourine and the flute, the wine are in their feasts, but they do not regard the work of the Lord, nor consider the operation of his hands. Therefore my people have gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. Their honorable men are famished, their multitude dried up with thirst. Now listen to this, verse 14. Therefore Sheol has enlarged itself and opened its mouth beyond measure. That's kind of cool, because I just read that news story, and that's kind of what just happened in the news. They're talking about this gateway to hell enlarging itself, opening the mouth to hell, just like the Bible says it would. So I just think it's interesting. We see a lot of these things, and they're more than just coincidence. We live in those days. If I had one parting thought, would be just do not fear. Get closer to the Lord. He loves you more than you could possibly know. And if you're saved, that's great. Become a disciple. You need to be a disciple in these last days. This is no time for passive Christianity. This is no time for greasy grace. Become a disciple. Get closer to him. The closer you are to him, the less of this stuff, it's not going to bother you. It's not going to bother you. So, you can hold up an umbrella with your hand, and if you stand out to the side, you're going to get wet. But if you get real close to the middle, that rain isn't even going to fall on you. So that's my parting thought.
That's good. Thank you for that, Derek. And we are going to make it our mission to make sure that the next time you come on this channel, your audio is going to be.
I hope so.
All right. Gary.
Hey, you got my name right. I think it's awesome. I
mean,
like what Amy.
right.
I like what Amy was saying about the size of Israel and stuff. And I remembered seeing back last year when this war broke out there. They were comparing the size of Israel to like New Jersey, and I think Israel's just a smidgen bigger than like New Jersey. And could you imagine New Jersey having such horrible things talked about with them, and the rest of the United States is afraid of little old New Jersey, all the other states, and Canada and Mexico, and just everywhere around it. I mean, that's about the size of this, is that the impact that one little place has. It's crazy how everything with biblical proportion, everything Genesis to Revelation, it's right in that area. It's in that region, and they're still fussing about that region. But anyway, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as a final thought, stay busy, people. Don't get weary in well doing. I've had a lot of frustration the past 2 days with vehicle breaking down and different things and all this, and then we get ready for a program and it seems like nothing's connecting, everything's going bonkers. I know what it is. The devil just don't want me to be happy on my way out of here. But we need to get so happy that happiness spreads to other people. And people need the peace of the Lord in their life. And it's only going to come through the Lord. We can have all hell breaking loose and around us, but if we have the peace, that just changes everything. And you only get that from the Lord. And so that's my message tonight, is just, share the peace that you have. And if you don't have it, receive Jesus today. Best decision you'll ever make.
That's good. Brother Bob, what do you think? What are your final thoughts, Brother Bob?
Well, I'd like to really go on a high note here. I will reveal something that the Lord showed me about this upcoming the sign, the Star of Jacob, and how it compares to the chart I was talking about in the beginning of the Rapture Resurrection report. I figured by the time that I put this part of the video out, the report will already been out already. So this will just be a review at this point. But if you're watching live, if you've watched Shane's channel, you're going to get a little piece of the action before the report comes out. Okay. Nice. So I've always talked about the Revelation 12 sign. That was the beginning of a 7-year warning for us. Okay. That's how it got started. So God called to attention the Revelation 12 sign. When you give somebody a 30-day warning, you say, hey, you got a 30-day warning. About what? I'll let you know halfway through. You don't do it that way, do you? No, you don't wait to day 15. You tell them day 1, this is what your warning is for, and you got 30 days. Okay. Day 1 of the 30-day, day 1 of the 7-year warning started on September 23rd, 2017, Revelation 12 sign. You have the rapture, The man-child called up to heaven, and the beginning of the 70 tribulation, all encompassed in the Revelation 12 sign. It's all there that outlines the beginning of the tribulation and what it's essentially what Israel goes through. It's really condensed. Everything is kind of condensed with that sign. All right. So God says, hey, in 7 years, this is what's going to happen. All right. So he starts it off with the Revelation 12 sign, day 1 of the 7-year count. Okay. Now, the 7-year count comes to an end on October 1st, this upcoming October 1st. Then October 2nd will be Tishri 1, which will be the beginning of another 7-year count, kicking off with the Feast of Trumpets. Okay. So the 7-year warning ends on October 1st. So God gave us a big sign. And this is my point here. God gave us a big sign to kick off the 7-year warning. Okay. So did God give us a big sign that brings the 7-year warning to an end? He did. And that is the Star of Jacob. He caps the whole 7-year warning off with the Star of Jacob. Now, if you guys did any research on the Star of Jacob, it's incredible. Yeah, it's called the TCRB binary star system. We have a dwarf star and a giant star together, and the dwarf star has been ripping hydrogen off the giant star. Okay. And then eventually the giant star went nova. Okay. Now here's a key thing. That giant star went nova 2,000 years ago. But Jesus, as death, burial, resurrection, is when that star went nova. Get that. Okay. Now it takes almost 2,000 years for that light to reach the earth. So that light is going to finally reach the earth this upcoming feast of trumpets. 2,000 years ago, that whole thing took place, and it's going to reach us now, right here before the Feast of Trumpets. That's why I call it the Messiah star. So here we are with a star system that detonated 2,000 years ago, and the light, Jesus, the light of the world, is going to come back to us 2,000 years later for the rapture resurrection. And this star is outlining it. So God set that nova in motion to say, hey, I'm going to do this the whole thing here, and this light will reach you guys just like Jesus coming back to get us in 2,000 years. Okay? So that thing is going nova. And what's interesting is you will see the light. It'll be the 50th brightest star in the sky, which 50 means Jubilee. Doesn't mean it's Jubilee year this year, but 50 means it's a sign of Jubilee, Jesus' return. Okay? And it's also 1,500 times brighter. Okay, and I forgot the significance of that, but it's 1,500 times brighter as well. Okay, so I think it's very significant why that's all happening now. So that essentially that Star of Jacob is the exclamation point at the end of the 7-year warning. All right, so God announced our departure and the beginning of 7-year tribulation, 7-year warning. And he brings a 7-year warning to an end with the sign of his coming, which is when the light of the world reaches the earth with the Star of Jacob. Okay, so it's a pretty nice setup, I think.
Yeah, oh, it's interesting. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Book of Jubilees. I don't know if you've ever read it. I've actually listened to the audiobook of the Book of Jubilees, and everything seemed to be in cycles of sevens, just from the beginning of time, just 777 all the time.
And before I forget, one more thing that's interesting is the Bethlehem star took place right in the middle of the 7-year period on December 21st, 2020. Right in the middle. And what happens in the middle of the tribulation? The 2 witnesses are resurrected. Right, a new beginning.
Right. Yeah.
So this whole 7-year period, it outlines the entire day in the 70th week.
Wow.
And it ends this upcoming October 1st, right before Rosh Hashanah. Just saying.
Wow.
Well, the rapture would have, if that starts the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, with that star kicking it off, that's God's signal to the world that, hey, this is the beginning. They signed the agreement on that day too. That means we have to be out of here in the next couple weeks, folks. Think about that.
Interesting.
That's exciting.
Yeah, no, lots of thoughts there. I look forward to seeing your next video, Bob. And then obviously for the audience, thank you for being here. And then go check out Not So Random. He does some not so random things on this channel. You might think it's random, but it's not so random. And then also End Time Dream and Vision. Watch out, like subscribe, and then click on the notification bell on Bob's channel, because when he is done the video, he'll upload it and you'll be notified as well. Go check out Amy's channel. Amy, Girl Who Loves Jesus 7. And then also check out Rick's channel, who's also exploding as well, Departure Heaven. And then Derek's new channel. And he's already, I think you're over 300 subscribers already. And it's only been, what, like a week? Like you could be at 1,000 subscribers. Not that it matters.
Nope.
People always say that. It doesn't matter, numbers and all that. Well, if you have a YouTube channel and you're posting 100 videos and you get 0 subscribers, it does matter. I'm sorry, it does matter.
Who's going to see your videos? You're not saving
Exactly.
anybody.
So
Talking to yourself, basically.
yeah. So when you get 300 plus subscribers, that tells me you're in a pocket that is of interest to people. So I would suggest you double down and continue talking about what you're talking about on your channel with your Bible studies. And yeah, I think your channel is poised to explode as well. So go check out Bible Study with Derek on YouTube, guys. And man, I'm telling you, you will get fed during the week as well. So thank you. If you gentlemen and lady wouldn't mind sticking around in the back, I'll just say goodbye to everyone real quick. Thanks, guys, for being on here.
God bless
Appreciate you.
everybody.
God
God bless you all.
Boom, 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 boom. Now that they're gone, is this kind of weird? Is it weird that I'm like talking like this? Like this kind of sounds weird in my ear. Like I feel uncomfortable right now, but I hope you guys aren't as uncomfortable as I am. But I hope you guys had a good time tonight. I've always have fun with my friends on the channel. We get to share scriptures, get to share Bible, get to share the gospel. And if you don't know, on a serious note, if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, this is the perfect opportunity for you to do it right now. All you have to do is believe that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, that he actually lived on earth, died on the cross, was buried, and then rose again on the third day. If you believe that he can never die again, you are saved. Because if you don't believe that, that means you're not saved right now. So if you're wrestling through that, that's fine. That's one thing. But you have to know the difference between saved and not saved. Not saved is you don't believe he was actually born on earth. You think he was just a myth. That's the spirit of the Antichrist. So that means you're not saved. And that's how you can tell if people in your circle are not saved as well. If they say things like, no, Jesus is just a story. That's all it is. He's not real. He's just a myth. The Bible's not real. The rapture is not real. That's all the spirit of the Antichrist. So to know that you're saved, this is a good place. If you believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again, and he was alive on earth, and now he's in heaven, and he's alive forevermore, and we have the Holy Spirit, we're sealed by the Holy Spirit, you are saved, my friends, for all eternity. You are saved. Welcome to the club. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for Pam for helping out as well on this crazy channel. Thank you. Love you guys a lot, and have a good night. And we'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now. And I'm going to find the music this time. We're going out in style. Here we go. Here we go. Here it comes.
Black Swan Revelations here on YouTube brought you today's mind-bending journey. Dive into the discussion, your comments, questions, prayer requests, and powerful testimonies of Jesus' love are what fueled this community. Did today's episode hit home? Smash that like button. New here? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a live stream or a video upload. Thanks for being part of today's adventure. Catch you in the next video, or maybe even in the clouds. Stay curious, stay blessed.
Oh, I'm still on. Okay, bye guys. That was an accident.